Skip it up and that up. Death Stranding was released for the PlayStation 4 a few days ago, and I'm just going to use the term that everyone else is using. It's been a divisive game. Some people think it's the most brilliant game ever made. Other people think it's the most boring piece of crap they've ever played. And Kojima had to weigh in on this himself. The Metascore right now is at 83 on Metacritic, and Hideo Kojima, who's the brainchild of Death Stranding, thinks that because it's not a first-person shooter is the reason why a lot of people are scoffing at it. This is what he had to say to Italian publication TGCom24. I must say that the game received rave reviews, especially in Europe and Japan. Here in the United States, however, we have had stronger criticisms. Perhaps it is a difficult game to understand for a certain type of critic and audience. Americans are great fans of first-person shooters, and Death Stranding isn't one. It flies higher. That's what he said. I always try to create new things, and disputes and discussions are fine, but it must be said that the Italians or the French have a different artistic sensibility that allows them to appreciate this kind of very original product, not only in video games, but also in cinema. It's a bit of a challenge between independents and blockbusters. I want to be in the middle and take the positive things of both these worlds. It happens that some very authorial games are sold maybe only in Japan and leave with a low budget. But when they try to propose themselves abroad to become international products, they lose their soul a little as the creative director's imprint slowly disappears. The larger the project becomes, the more the creative face disappears, which also applies to Western games. Now, two things. One, I know that Kojima built his reputation because he makes awesome quality products. Even though the Metal Gear series is not my cup of tea, even from when I was a kid. I remember playing Metal Gear back on the NES back in the day. And I know that was the bastard child version that we got here from the MSX. The MSX version of Metal Gear was way better. Blah, 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 blah. But it just was never for me from back in the day. But I understand that Kojima knows how to make good games. I have tried the Metal Gear series, Metal Gear Solid on the PS1, and countless other Metal Gear games. And I know the man knows how to make a good game. And I know he's brilliant, and I'm not knocking him. But even brilliant people can make crap once in a while. Okay? Not everything your favorite creator makes is gold. And what's funny is he has a point that, look, especially American developers, they keep on churning out first-person shooters. It's always the cookie-cutter thing they keep churning out. But Super Metal Dave, I know I feel like I'm reviewing Super Metal Dave USA, pointed something out on Twitter. Dave, I really will put a link to your channel in the description this time because I forgot to do it yesterday. But he wrote this on Twitter. Kojima believes reviews of Death Stranding in the United States being lower because Death Stranding isn't a first-person shooter. Death Stranding flies higher than that. Blame the American audience, huh? Take a look at the top 20 Metacritic games in 2019. Not one FPS or his game. I love that burn he has at the end there. And he's right! Go look for yourself. The top 20 games on Metacritic for 2019. I just quadruple checked right now just to make sure, because God forbid there was an FPS in there. Not a single first-person shooter game. So what are you talking about, Kojima? What bothers me about Death Stranding is a couple things. I'm going to reiterate Shokyo here as well. Is, look, I've praised like walking simulators, which I don't even know if I'm not buying the game, Death Stranding. I don't even know if you could call it directly a walking simulator, but I loved Dear Esther. But the reason I loved games like Dear Esther is they were like short, bite-sized walking simulators that you were constantly interactive. There was no cutscenes. You were the cutscene. In Dear Esther, you walked through this beautiful world. He used the source engine, and there was dialogue, but you were still moving and interacting with the world as you were doing it. So it was this really engrossing walking simulator experience. I still love it to this day. This is a AAA game that Sony kind of in a way like misled by not leading you anywhere. Like, is there some action in it? Sure, there is a little bit of action. Is it like a Metal Gear Solid with Norman Reedus? Like, what the hell are we looking at? And they built hype around Kojima and nothing else. And then you get this game that I honestly think if critics were more honest, no, you can't go by the user scores because I'm sure there are a bunch of Microsoft nerds and fanboys who like they can't be objective. I just want to make sure this game gets a low user score so it's not on my platform. You know that's happening, okay? But I just also feel that if reviewers, because you know that's happening out there, weren't afraid to give this game a low score, like IGN did, and they gave it an honest score, they're afraid of getting attacked and review bombed. They don't want the lynch mob after them. And I think, honestly, this game, if more critics were honest and they weren't afraid of the mob, the hate mob out there and the Kojima fanboys, this game would have either in the low 70s or upper 60s as a Metacritic average score. I think it's getting a pass because it's Kojima and people are afraid of the mobs. And it annoys me when the top 20 games of 2019 on Metacritic aren't first-person shooters. You have Kojima saying, oh, they just don't like it because it's not a first-person shooter. That's why American audiences just want first-person shooters, which is not true. American audiences complain because there's too many first-person shooters, and that's why the top 20 games on Metacritic are not first-person shooters. Hideo, just admit you want to move on from video games. I know you want to go on and make films. You use gaming as a medium to make films. Now what you learned, apply it to actually making movies, and maybe you'll be the next Steven Spielberg. But I just don't look. I'm going to say something Shokio said again. I understand games need a story, and when a story is done right, where it's really incorporated well without all the goddamn cutscenes, it's really incorporated well into the game, where it blends in so you don't feel like you're taken out of the experience, I'm okay with that. But we're getting to a point now where you have people who create games and developers and directors of games are trying to make them into movies. If I want to see a movie, I'll go to a movie theater or put a Blu-ray in or stream from Netflix. If I want to watch a movie, I'll watch a damn movie. When I play a game, I want to play a game, have an experience, be part of it. And no, it doesn't have to be a first-person shooter, Kojima, but video games are not movies. They can be art, but there still has to be gameplay and fun. And this game, from what I'm hearing, even people who gave it high scores are saying it's not fun. And honestly, I think those people gave it a high score because, like I said, they're afraid to give it a low score. Don't say the game is better and it flies higher than other games. That's arrogance at that point, and that pisses me off. The game had misleading advertising, and it ended up being a giant walking simulator that's not a walking simulator, and people are pissed off. They don't want a movie, they want a game. And you're making people feel like idiots for not understanding your game. And look, if you love Death Stranding, love the game, that's fine. Everyone, I know it's subjective, but he can't sit here and say that, oh, it's the Western audience and it's our fault that the game isn't getting a higher Metacritic score. I don't want my games to turn into movies. And if this game does well, I'm afraid we're going to go down this path where more games are just interactive cutscenes. And that's going to suck. And yeah, just like Shokio again, because I saw his video before I made this, I feel like we're going down that path, and it's not a good path for games to go down. And that's going to piss me off royally. This is Rich of Review Tech USA signing out. Have a good one.